now 1:23 on the courtroom clock. The record should reflect that all 12 jurors and 5 alternates have returned to the courtroom. Defendants present as are counsel for the defendant, counsel for the state of Ohio, Detective Major has returned to the witness stand, still under oath, Detective. And Mr. Tennell, you may continue your direct examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, show State's Exhibit 325, 326, and 327. State's Exhibit 326, and that's what you've seen that before.
Yes, I have. State's Exhibit 326 is a disc of a recording from my interview with Shawn Grate. It's signed and dated when I authenticated it by listening to it.
And this interview took place when?
If it's the next interview, it would have been on October 4th.
I'll show you what we marked as State's Exhibit 325.
Okay?
What is that?
State's Exhibit 325 is a copy of the original of the Miranda warnings custodial interrogation form that I presented to Shawn Grate on October 4, 2016. You can see where he's initialed it, signed it, dated it. I did the same.
And is that similar form to the ones that you had to fill out on other occasions?
It's the same form, yes.
Okay. And after you read his warnings to him, did he understand them?
Yes, he did.
And did he agree to speak with you?
Yes, he did.
And is the recitation of those Miranda warnings contained within Exhibit 326?
Yes, it is.
And how did it come to pass that you were speaking with him again on October 4th, 2016?
Shawn Grate had requested to meet with me again.
And is 325 an accurate copy of the Miranda warning form that was filled out by you and signed by the defendant on October 4th, 2016?
Yes, sir.
And does State's Exhibit 326 contain an accurate copy of the interview that took place on October 4th?
Yes, it's redacted, but that's an accurate account of what isn't redacted, yes.
Okay. Redacted and what's there is accurate.
Yes, sir.
And you had an opportunity to review this prior to coming to court?
Yes, I did.
Sir, if we could publish State's 326 and the accompanying transcript 327.
Any objection?
No objection, Judge.
Thank you. You may.
Thank you.
The date is Tuesday, October 4, 2016. Time is 1:47 p.m. Detective Major FBI Agent John Minicello at the Essex County Jail preparing to interview Shawn Grate.
Detective, who is FBI Agent John Minicello?
John Minicello is an FBI agent who is assigned in this area, and he went with me to that interview. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Yeah. Yeah, it's fine. No, he's not. Thank you. Appreciate it. Shawn Grate?
Appreciate that.
We were working on something in my office, and they said you want to talk to me, so they're just bringing with me. All right, so here's the deal. Since you're represented in Ashland County, I gotta go through the same form again. My voice is leaving, I don't know what's going on, but it's not good, is it? All right, Shawn Grate, your right to remain silent. Anything you say is against you in the court of law. Right to talk to a lawyer prior to the questioning and have him present while you're being questioned. If you cannot afford to hire a lawyer, one will be appointed to represent you before the questioning. Do you understand each of your rights I've explained to you? Have the rights in line, will you do talk to me now? So you initial all those.
Detective, where it says no audible response, was there a nonverbal response to that question?
Yes, there was a head nod in the affirmative.
Thank you.
Times 149. All right. I was going to ask you, let's see, you had Lori at your place on Sunday. On that Sunday, a couple nights before then, you went over late at night and borrowed something from her. Do you remember what it was? Some Band-Aids from your house late at night.
Yeah, that was from my shin here. It's still,
Yeah, what happened there?
on Lyle's truck.
Okay,
I fell back and just ripped it.
okay.
She has hydrocortisone cream. I was very out of Band-Aids.
You told us no one ever came to the house to check on you. Is that right? Does the front door work at all? But you would use that side door?
It did for the longest time until it wasn't that I screwed the front door where it wouldn't open.
Because your brakes not even coming.
Yeah. Just the smell, like the lawnmower man. Yeah. That's when I screwed the front door where I had to push it open real hard to get it open.
Okay.
But that's all you got to do is just push it real hard. 2 screws in there. Yeah.
So then you would just use that side door to get in.
Busted that window out. And then 3 days later, I went back. I watched that place. I busted a window out. There was someone walking right in that area.
How did Dwight bust this window?
To get in there, I looked around and realized that no one was living in there.
Oh, okay.
right there. Not proven not to do what I did. To be able to gain strength, relax, and eat again. You know, but a nice place in electricity, yeah.
Yeah. A change compared to what you were used to for a while.
TV was there. I went and bought VCR because I wanted to get a bunch of VCR cassette players. And I bought that. DVD player. Kind of get home. And then I figured, well, electric, someone's got to pay for electric eventually, or it'll come in. It's like, I got 30 days to stay here. You know, I kept going on, and the stress, I think, just kept getting to me. Like, you know, that eventually someone, you know, it's time, my time's up here. You know.
Why after Elizabeth passed, why did you stay in there at all? Why not just pick up and leave? Which is a good answer if that's the answer, right? If you don't know, you don't know. It's just something I have no purpose other than I just wonder.
Told myself I only had a little while longer. Elizabeth, every time it was really narrowing down. And I keep picturing every day since when I come in. And then there it is.
So look up
Look at the case so far.
and find her.
That's scary. Like, I can worry about that. And like, oh, yeah, I mean, and then I to the point, also worried about it to the point that it's like, I couldn't wait what to happen. They set free, like, I was under work, and go back there. Yeah, it's all kind of weighing on you. Yeah. Waiting, it was many.
It's a lot going on.
A lot of us not remorse. You know, it's like my case, I think it's more like this poor girl. There ain't nothing that she want better than just to be with God. Where others are like taking up a child or a beautiful lady upstairs and just wanting to steer their body. My heart was pounding from her heart, not her body. Wanting to figure out from her heart has been so hurt, let down in this life. To others, maybe different.
Yeah.
Detective, who is he referring to?
He was referring to Elizabeth Griffith.
But it was, I could sense her lost and everything, her desires. They're all different in ways.
Yeah. It appears that way, totally. Did you feel like it was your rage inside, or that sometimes it seems like when someone betrays you or you're angry, someone lies to you or betrays you, or pretends to be something they're not. It seems...
That actually is what I'm used to. So it was kind of exciting when I get betrayed.
Because you know what your options are. Okay, because I think you called yourself an opportunist once. So, I'm gonna paraphrase this, if correct me when I'm wrong, okay? So, I'm gonna use a, so let's take, Stacy. She didn't come in there wanting to die, right? She had plans that night. She didn't come in there for that. So when she's in there, it has to be inside you already that this is heading that way. This is going to end bad. And then it just is a wait for you, it's just a wait for her to make that mistake or to tell me the truth, going from that happened to it's going to happen. What's in your mind? Like what has to happen for her? What happens there for the switch to happen?
I'll be honest with you. I mentioned that she had sugar daddies. I called her in a way. I brought that up. And she just straight up lied to me. Just like plain old, like she's all innocent. I just seen how she just played this dude about changing her tire. And I'll get over me sometime and all this, you know what I mean? Because she was waiting on this guy to come and change the tire. Which I would want to change the tire with his tools though. While she was talking to him. Whatever you do, I mean, it's not used to that type of life.
So did you feel like she had already sealed her fate when you watched her manipulate to that man?
No. When she lied to me.
When you call her sugar, when you call her out on it.
Yeah.
So you...
Never those guys. And she just took defense already, like, hey, he's just a friend. And then it's like, no. I mean, I've argued with her, because I know whatever.
Okay.
So, you know, I said, just like everyone else, all the women, they do not know that the more honest they are to me, the better we get along. I mean, no matter what the situation, just be honest. You know what I mean?
So her fate was sealed when she lied.
Well, she had a chance to leave. I don't know what she thought. She was closer to the door than me. She had her. Well, the keys were sitting here on the keys. I walked over here, right? And ran out. Said she just grabbed her mace and the keys. She could have left. She maced me. She already knew that she would get ready to leave. She wanted to make me know. She was angry.
She what?
She was angry, for sure.
Yeah.
She maced me. I was turning her, I told him, he's like, do you follow me? I said, no. When he said, if anybody wants to talk to you, I mean, tell him you don't want to talk, don't talk to nobody. And I said, don't talk to nobody. Trying to figure out, is there nobody? I was like, well, seriously, I don't think I need an attorney. Because this is taxpayers' money. I mean, I'm guilty. Yeah, I'm about.
You know, that would be a battle.
Yeah.
At the same time, like, I can't violate your rights. I'm real funny about that, obviously. I come here on my own. You called for me, so here I come.
I don't care what the attorney says. You don't like it. Whatever. But one day I was going to, and by the time I did, I was in here sketching, trying to sketch this afternoon, requested you.
And here I came.
So Detective, the guy that this defendant felt Stacy was playing, I guess, to use his word, who would that be?
Well, on the phone, that would have been her son that he said she was playing. And the guy who was going to change the tire was a family friend.
And that she was playing him somehow and some kind of sugar daddy? Is
Yeah,
that how you took that?
yes.
And what is this lie then that seals her fate?
He confronts her about these guys someone being her sugar daddy, and she was saying that it's just a friend.
And he felt that was a lie,
Yes,
and that sealed her fate.
that sealed her fate.
Did you have occasion to speak to the defendant again?
I did.
When was that?
The next time was October 5th, 2016.
And then the recording of that interview is in 2 parts, is that correct?
Yes,
I'm going to show State's Exhibit 328, 329, 330, 331, and 332 to the defense counsel. I'll show you 329 and Exhibit 331.
okay. Exhibits 329 and 331 are discs that have the recordings on them from my interview of Shawn Grate, which took place on October 5th, 2016. They are signed by me and dated on the date that I authenticated these by listening to them.
And so you listened to them prior to coming to court today?
Yes, sir.
And they are authentic?
They are authentic.
They're an accurate recording of what transpired on October 5th, 2016?
Yes.
And they are likewise redacted, is that correct?
They are redacted.
And the remaining portions are accurate?
Yes, sir.
And why did you, how did it come to pass that you interviewed the defendant again on October 5th?
I was contacted by the Ashland County Sheriff's Office and advised that Shawn Grate was requesting to meet with me.
I'll show you State's Exhibit 328.
Okay.
Can you tell us what that is?
State's Exhibit 328 is a copy of the original of the Miranda warnings form that I presented to Shawn Grate on October 5th, 2016. It is initialed by each right, and it's signed and dated by him as well as myself.
And your recitation of those warnings, is that included in the audio of the interview taking place October 5th?
Yes, sir.
And is State's Exhibit 328 an accurate copy of the form as it was filled out by yourself and the defendant on October 5th?
Yes, it is.
Or, yeah, October 5th.
Yes.
And did the defendant on this occasion understand his warnings?
Yes, he did.
And did he agree to speak with you?
Yes, he did.
I wonder if we could publish 329 and the accompanying Exhibit 330?
Any objection?
No objection.
Thank you. You may. I think there's short one over here, Mr. Tennell. You got it now? Okay.
At 11 p.m., I'm at the Education's office. Shawn Grate, he's requested to speak. Sorry, how pay you, Mark?
Requesting you,
You did one cup off.
21 upper, to the right. Middle here. Select today. It's worse than worse after that. Yeah.
Thanks, guys. How are you doing? I already formed.
Yeah.
Started Terry called over and said that you had requested me. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can't all be used against you in the court of law. You have the right to talk to a lawyer prior to any questioning and have the present law in your question. If you can afford to hire a lawyer, one will be appointed to represent you before any question. Do you understand each of your rights? I've explained to you. Having these rights in mind, you want to talk to me. Having these rights in mind, you want to talk to me.
Yes. Wait. I'm all messed up.
I'm sorry. So did you understand your rights in the next time?
Yeah.
And having your rights in mind, meaning knowing your rights, do you still want to talk to me?
Yes.
Okay. You're all right. I do that every time you request me because I'm not allowed to come over and talk to you, but you requested me, so I came.
Request permission to publish 331 and the accompanying transcript 332, Your Honor.
Any objection?
No objection to this.
You may.
I know you buried those two canisters, the rocks, and then there was some jewelry. In any of your other forts, is there anything buried near them? Just those?
Yeah.
And the significance of the rocks was just you liked them, you don't want to have them, or?
I don't do. Yes. They were buried for probably, well, wherever I got there, I buried them. Well, also Charles Mill. I buried him. And I go back to the tree builders. And then maybe gather up some stuff.
trailers to the port to the trailers. Definitely. So, when's the last time you had a car at all?
For Stacy, driving with Stacy.
Yeah, I know you drove that, but before that, did you ever feel like, I don't know, this reminds me of something. When Lori was in your place, and you would come in the dark and shine a flashlight or a lighter to see her, why not just have the light on?
Well, I can go back down a lot. Yeah, usually about midnight. Midnight to 5 in the morning is the time when I use the light, if I have to. I don't use much electric.
That way nobody would see you, or that would...
Yeah, because the house right up there is like homeless shelter, and I think they were tied to it, what they work for.
Yeah.
And I thought he knew what was in there. He just didn't really put two together. You know, maybe
Yeah.
there's people who know I was in there. I go along there and I had 3 or 4 times, like in a half hour, refill all the water. Yeah, man, they're walking right down in the valley. They're from people from that house and stuff. I'm giving that one. Well, Lori suggested that if I want to give her this bear thing and things, and she's not really into collectibles or anything like that. Well, we passed this little girl and her dad in an alley, and we walked back around and gave it to him. And I know they've seen me right in that area a lot.
What's the significance of all the stuffed animals that you have?
Just happened to grab a bag. Those 3 donation boxes across the street. I would jump down. Well, at first I would just reach in there and grab tags and just carry it. And I started, man, I got the wrong bag once, a bunch of fleas. Man, shoot, I was getting hit by fleas. Man,
That's not good.
no. So then, all the bags I was getting were female clothes and stuff. I think jeans, like things like that. I got a request for some t-shirts for guys. And then I started trying to make some money, but I never find no guy clothes. So I jumped down, go through them.
So, if you know it's brewing and it might happen, would the next person, the next opportunity be it, or would it not be? You know what I mean? How would that be? Like, if
Yeah, Stacy was probably more like a permanent vessel of Lori's. Things she said really hurt me and things built up.
will you be honest with me about something?
Yeah.
When you first offered to help Stacy, was it already brewing for you then?
No.
When you went back to your place and waited, or wherever, waited 10 minutes and came back, was it brewing then?
Detective, what do you mean it's brewing?
Meaning that urge or that hunger to kill someone.
And that's something the 2 of you had discussed in your conversations?
We had, yes.
That's honesty.
First 50 minutes. I took my umbrella and was like, well, I offered to try to change her tire. And she didn't have the rubber tools. She's waiting on the guy to bring me the jacket. Okay, well, how about I want to give you this umbrella because I have another one. And they said, oh, no, that's okay.
Like, what was your view of her right at that moment? When the offer her at home and she says, "I somebody bring the check." What would you do to her at that point?
Just talking. There's maybe just a conversation.
So when you left, you came back?
I never left.
Oh, you never left, okay.
No, I don't care what no problem though. She's often that I can just wait with her. Okay, yeah, she has put what I was doing. I just got me some cigarettes. Continue standing here. Like there was something wrong. I mean, I asked her, "Is everything okay?" Yeah. Pointed her car. Got tired. I was getting tired. So one of their insurance is flat. I mean, could you still leak? So we could put some air in it. We tried to put air in it. It was done before. I was thinking, nice lady, possibly call for me to be able to find someone to take me in and I can start over.
When did that change?
Probably when she started talking about that guy about getting together sometime. She was on the phone with her son. Like, why are you with another guy? You know, I mean, a guy's coming to help you. You know, like she's being dumped out by her son or someone, whoever she was talking to. I don't know what it was like on her case about why she's talking to me. One of another, when someone's coming. It's like, I talked to one of my friends is coming over to help you. I mean, and she initiated it with them to get together sometime. That's when I called her out later.
So when
Started
you,
around that.
so during then,
It's another sneaky woman, a user,
okay.
and they learned, you know, that she told on herself about getting, I call it retard check, but this was check each month.
So when you asked her to come in,
I wasn't too sure what I was going to do.
but you knew it might happen.
Yeah.
Thank you. Being honest.
I wasn't too sure. As far as like, was premeditated with her anyway, before I even got into the house. It was brewing. It just depends on how things went.
So detective, how did you take that to mean? That before you got in the house, it was brewing?
I took that to mean that her fate was sealed, that he already knew what was going to happen before he even walked in the house with her.
Do you feel in that situation that, okay, and inevitably, when she comes in, she's going to say something wrong. But the chances of her are pretty slim, am I right? When she comes in, she's going to mess up.
Yeah.
Is that
A little
right?
bit.
Okay.
You're right. We did it all the first for a while. Just talking.
Can I ask you this?
Yes, right. Started to do. Everything was fine, right?
When you're kissing and making out.
It was a little bit. She started playing all this.
Like she didn't want to go further than that?
Yeah, and that's what we call her on sugar daddies. If I was about $40, I could do something. You know what I mean? Yeah, no matter what it is, it's going to get that. During sex, probably just somebody drink water or make you sweat.
So states 333, 334, and 335 to the defense counsel. Did you have occasion to talk to the defendant again?
I did.
When was that?
October 17th, 2016.
And did you record that interview?
Yes, I did.
Show you States Exhibit 334.
Okay.
Was that?
States Exhibit 334 is a disc, and there's a recording on the disc, redacted recording on the disc from my interview with Shawn Grate on October 17, 2016. It is signed in full by me and dated with the date that I authenticated it by listening to it.
And is it an accurate recording or an accurate, embodiment of the interview that occurred on October 17, 2016?
Yes, it is.
And you reviewed it prior to coming to court today?
Yes, I did.
Is it 334 accurate?
Yes, it is.
It's also redacted, is it not?
It is redacted.
The unredacted portion contained on 334 is true and accurate?
Yes.
And what caused you to be speaking with the defendant yet again on October 17, 2016?
Grate had requested me several times, and I went over on October 17th related to his request to meet with me.
I'll show you States Exhibit 333.
Okay?
Can you identify that document?
Yes, States Exhibit 333 is a copy of the original Miranda warnings form that I presented to Shawn Grate on October 17, 2016. The rights are initialed and it's signed by Shawn Grate, signed by myself, and dated.
And you did that with the recorder running?
Yes, I did.
So that's contained within States 334?
Yes.
And did he understand his rights as you read them?
Yes, he did.
And did he agree to speak with you?
Yes, he did.
And is States Exhibit 333 a true and accurate copy of the Miranda warning form as was filled out by yourself and the defendant on October 17, 2016?
Yes.
Permission to publish 334 and the accompanying transcript at 335.
Any objection, Mr. Whitten?
No objection.
You may.
The date, October 17, 2016, time is 14:15 hours. Detective Major preparing to interview Shawn Grate. Youth office. Jail division. He wrote a kite and additional messages as well. Method of maximum security.
And that'll give it to me.
There's no number? What's the number? Is there a 543 number that you have? 419543?
5436.
What's that number?
Check it out. That's all got, only got to say about, so you can go with it.
Detective, are we to understand then that the defendant had 2 cell phones?
Yes.
And he recites there his, the phone number of that.
Yes.
As part of your investigation, can you tell us, that's the Detective Lay or Captain Lay had testified earlier that he had dialed a phone number that went to a voicemail by the name of Shawn.
Yes.
By the same number?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, can counsel approach?
You may.
All right, Detective Major, you'll recall on Friday, we played State's Exhibit 283.
Yes.
And that was one of the portions of the interview from September 13th, 2016.
Yes, sir.
And 283, there's a portion of that interview right at the end that was skipped within the portion that was played. Do you recall that?
I do recall
It's
that.
in the transcript, but skipped.
Yes.
Okay, that's been marked as State's Exhibit 283B
Okay.
for the record. And Your Honor, if we could just play that at this time.
There being no objection, you may.
Thank you.
Yep, get you here. Ready to go?
I think so.
Okay.
You met at Stacy at the gas station. Was she walking or was she driving?
Driving.
What's her car look like? Pontiac? What color it was?
It's gray.
All right, do you have any of your belongings in that car?
No.
Now, the defendant there indicates the vehicle's a Pontiac, correct?
Yes,
And what type of car is it, in fact?
it's a Mitsubishi.
Color?
I believe gray.
And that portion we just heard of what we've marked as State's Exhibit 283B, that is an accurate recording of a portion of your interview that you conducted on September 13th?
Yes, it is. Yes.
Detective, the individual that you met with over the course of the interviews that we've been listening to the past day and a half, is he here in the courtroom?
Yes, he is.
Could you point him out and describe what he's wearing?
Shawn Grate seated at the defendant's table between Mr. Whitney and Mr. Whitney wearing a white button-up shirt and a tie with glasses.
The record to reflect the identification of the defendant.
Record will so reflect.
Thank you, Detective. Nothing further.
Cross-examine.
No question, this witness, Judge, thank you.
Thank you. May stand down, Detective. Next witness, Mr. Tennell.
David Marcelli, Your Honor.
Sir, do you solemnly swear affirm testimony about giving this matter to be the truth, nothing but the truth, sir? Yes, sir, it is correct.
Thank you, Your Honor. Would you tell us your name, please?
David Marcelli,
And how are you employed?
City of Ashland Division of Police,
And what do you do for the Division of Police?
currently assigned as the Chief of Police,
And how long have you been the Chief of Police?
8 years,
And how long have you been with the Ashland Division of Police?
26 years.
And what did you do before that?
I worked undercover narcotics for 2.5 years,
Where was that?
Wayne County.
Okay. And Chief, were you on duty September 13th, 2016?
Yes, sir, I was.
As the Chief of Police, is it fairly rare that you're not on duty?
Yes,
Or at least on call somewhere?
yes, sir.
Okay. Did you have occasion, certainly as the chief, you were informed that there was an incident early in the morning at Covert Court that day,
Yes,
correct?
sir.
Okay. And I believe Captain Lay was working on that situation with the detectives, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Is Captain Lay essentially the number 2 at the department?
Yes, sir.
At some point during the day, did you take a more direct and active role in the investigation?
Yes, we were stretched fairly thin. I had spent all day on station coordinating the efforts of the investigation with the detectives and patrol division. We had occasion to search a few areas within the city limits, specifically the Hess and Clark building. I called for cadaver dog teams from Medina County to come down, and I accompanied that team, as well as Officer Lee Eggeman and Officer James Coy, to the Hess and Clark building to search it.
And where is the Hess and Clark building?
It'll be 10 East 7th Street.
And I guess, where is it in relation then to this house on Covert Court that we've been speaking of?
Roughly 3 blocks.
And in fact, you can see it from the house at Covert
Correct.
Court. Is that
Correct.
correct? Describe the exterior of the building.
It's boarded up, but frequently people get inside of it. They pull the securing wood down and enter the building. But
And that happens frequently.
correct.
Your department has been to many calls for
Correct.
people trespassing in that vacant structure.
Correct. I had been in there the day before.
On such a call?
No, I was in there part of the search for the missing women.
Okay. With no results at that time?
No, sir.
Okay, but you were looking for actual people at that point?
Correct.
All right. What all were you looking for on September 13th?
Captain Lay said that he had received information from Mr. Grate that he had been staying in that building in the tower or the silo area and had left some belongings there, specifically a blue sleeping bag.
Okay. And what's a cadaver dog team?
A cadaver dog is a specially trained dog. It's trained to seek out and locate human remains.
And what was your, I guess, why have a cadaver dog team with you through that location?
Because of the nature of the investigation and the information that we had gleaned to that point, I thought it was prudent that we search areas that we knew Mr. Grate had been in order to find any human remains that may have been there.
And did you find any human remains?
No, sir, we did not.
Were you successful, however, in finding anything related to the investigation?
Yes, sir, the sleeping bag and some other property as described by Captain Lay.
This shows States Exhibit 336 to Defense Counsel. Show you what we've marked, purposes of identification in States Exhibit 336. Do you recognize what's depicted in that photograph?
Yes, it's a blue sleeping bag with tartan lining and a brown jacket and a blue fleece blanket.
Your Honor, if we could publish that exhibit?
Any objection?
No objection, Judge, thank you.
All right, and approximately where in the building was this located?
That's at the top of that silo. I estimate it to be about 3 stories high.
Okay. And that is the area that you were specifically looking to look in?
Correct. We searched the whole building, but specifically I went up the ladder and located these objects.
Okay. And those are as described as Captain Lay,
Correct.
who indicated he got that information from the defendant.
Correct.
Is, let's see, States Exhibit 336 a fair and accurate depiction of the scene as you saw it on September 13th, 2016?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Chief. Nothing further.
Cross-examine?
No question to Chief Marcelli. Judge, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief. You're excused.
Officer Jeremy Jarvis, Your Honor.
Thank you.
swear or affirm the testimony
I do. Would you tell us your name, please?
Officer Jeremy Jarvis,
And how are you employed?
City of Ashland, police officer,
And how long have you been a police officer with the city of Ashland?
over 10 years.
And is that the sum total of your career in law enforcement?
No, I got 7 years with the sheriff's office also here in Ashland County.
And, let's see. Were you on duty September 24th, 2016?
I was.
What shift were you working?
Day shift, 6A to 6P.
And did you have occasion to stop by a location in the vicinity of the Stony Creek Apartments?
I did.
Where your fellow officers were, I guess, taking part in a search? Reference this case?
I did.
Okay. And who was there when you got there?
Officer Newman and Sergeant Bloodhart.
And what were they doing?
They had metal detectors and they were getting ready to search the area along the fence back behind Stony Creek.
And what was your understanding of what they were looking for?
They were looking for a key.
We've had prior testimony that there was a map drawn, the approximate location of the key. Prior to September 24th or leading up to your arrival at this location, had you seen this map?
I did not.
Okay. Did you have an idea of where to look?
Just where they were looking at the metal detectors. They said what area it was as far as where they were looking.
Okay. Now, were you supposed to be part of this search team?
I was not.
Okay. So what were you doing there?
I finished up a call on Virginia Avenue. I drove over there to where they were at. I wasn't sure what they were doing, so I got out just to see what they were doing, and they explained that they were looking for a key.
And so what'd you do?
I walked maybe 10 feet in front of Officer Newman, took one step in towards the fence, and looked down, and there was a key.
Had they even been able to turn on the metal detectors at that
I
point?
think they had just started.
Okay. This shows States Exhibit 337 and 338 to Defense Counsel. Show you States Exhibit 337. You recognize what's depicted in that photograph?
I do.
What's in that photograph?
That is the key that I saw laying there.
Your Honor, if we could publish 337 with the jury.
Any objection?
No objection, Judge.
Approximately where in the photograph is the key located?
Just a little ways from the fence, beside some asphalt.
Okay, sort of in the middle of the picture,
Yes,
sort of the, obviously the silver-looking object next to the chunk of asphalt there.
yes,
And is that photograph, is that how the key looked when you stepped into the weeds there and looked down?
yes it is.
Show you States Exhibit 338. What does that photograph depict?
That is Sergeant Bloodhart pointing at the key or doing something.
Okay.
That is the area the key was at.
We could publish that photograph, Your Honor.
Any objection?
No objection, Judge.
You may.
All right, so that's Officer Bloodhart there.
Yes,
Is Officer Bloodhart in the approximate location of where the key would be
yes he is.
in relation to the fence, I guess?
Yes,
Okay. And is that how the scene looked when you observed it on September 24, 2016?
yes it is.
Are both of those photographs a fair and accurate depiction of the scene as you saw it on September 24?
Yes they are.
Did you collect that key?
I did not.
After pointing out the key to your fellow officers, what'd you do?
I went to another call I got dispatched to.
So you pointed out the key to him and left.
Yep.
Thank you, officer. Nothing further.
Cross?
No questions of Officer Jarvis, Judge, thank you.
Thank you. You're excused, officer.
Thank you.
Call Officer Abe Newman.
Sir, you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony about giving this matter be true, the truth,
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Would you tell us your name, please?
Abram Newman.
And how are you employed, sir?
I'm a police officer with the City of Ashland Division of Police
And how long have you been with the Division of Police?
since 2007.
And what do you do for the Division of Police?
I'm a patrol officer.
And what kind of things does a patrol officer do?
Patrol officers respond to criminal complaints, traffic complaints. We self-initiate our own activity. We help the Detective Bureau if need be.
And on September 24th, 2016, did you get called upon to help out the Detective Bureau?
Yes, I did by officer, or I should say Detective Major.
Okay, and I guess what was your mission on September 24th?
Our mission was to locate a key that was believed to have gone to Elizabeth Griffith's apartment.
And where's this key supposed to be located?
The fire lane / alley behind Stony Creek apartment.
And were you given any specific information as to where this key might be located?
We were given a map with a possible location.
Okay, I'll show you what we've marked for purposes of identification as State's Exhibit 306. Do you recognize that document?
Yes, I do.
What is that?
This is the map that I was shown of where this key may be.
Okay. And so with that information, what did you do?
BCI had provided metal detectors to us. Sergeant Bloodhart at the time and I proceeded to that location with that equipment to basically start a plan as to how we were going to tackle this task.
Okay. And did you and Sergeant Bloodhart formulate a plan?
Yeah, he was going to start at one end. He started at the east end of this alley, and I started at the west end of this alley.
Okay. And did any of your fellow officers join you at that time?
Officer Jarvis joined us shortly after.
Okay. And what happened?
Luck of the draw, he walked up to the same area we were searching with metal detectors, and he located this key.
And did he point the key out to you and Officer and Sergeant Bloodhart?
Yes, he did. He pointed it out to me.
And then what did he do?
Then what did who do?
What did Jarvis do?
I think he just stood by the key and guarded it. I photographed this area.
Okay. And at some point, did Officer Jarvis leave?
Yes, I believe so, yes.
Okay. Judge, I've previously shown 337 and 338 defense counsel. I'll show them 339 and 340. Show you what we've marked as 337. Do you recognize what that is?
That would be the photo of the key.
Your Honor, if we could publish these as we go.
Any objection to 339 or 340?
No good.
Thank you.
All right, so State's Exhibit 337, is that the picture of the key?
That would be the picture of the key, yes.
Okay, and is that as you and your fellow officers found it on September 24th?
Yes, it is.
State's Exhibit 338, what is depicted there?
That picture would be Sergeant Bloodhart at the time pointing to that picture, or to the key, I'm sorry.
Okay, pointing to the key. Now, draw your attention back to the map. I think it's marked as 306.
Yes.
This indicates the fence here, and there's a circled area with key written in it.
Correct.
The area that you located where the Officer Jarvis pointed the key out to you and Sergeant Bloodhart, is that consistent with where it's marked on the map the key should be?
Yes, it is.
I'll show you State's Exhibit 39. What is depicted there?
This is the alley, the fire lane / alley behind Stony Creek. It runs from Holbrook to behind the apartment complex and dead ends.
Okay, so what are we looking towards in that photograph?
In this photo, you're looking eastbound from Holbrook Street. These trees, there, you can see the fence here. And then where it comes out to the trees, that's roughly the area this key was located at.
Okay, on the alley side of the fence?
Yes.
Okay. And then in fact, the I guess beige building just beyond the Ashland Police Department cruisers, that's part of the Stony Creek apartment complex?
That is correct.
Showing you State's Exhibit 340. What is that view?
This would be a close-up / mid-range photo between where we had originally started from Holbrook Street to where the key was located.
Okay, and so the key would be roughly where within that photograph?
You see that first main tree there? And then there's another tree to the right behind it. It was located roughly right in that area.
Okay. So between those two trees, it's sort of centered in the picture?
Yes.
State's Exhibits 337, 338, 339, and 340. Are they all fair and accurate depictions of the scene as it appeared to you and your fellow officers on September 24, 2016?
Yes, they are.
After taking photographs of the area and the scene, what did you do with the key?
I collected the key and placed it into evidence.
I'll show you what we've marked as State's Exhibit 198. And that exhibit has already been opened by a prior witness, BCI agent Ed Staley.
Okay.
And what does that exhibit appear to be?
This appears to be the key that we located.
And is that the packaging that you put it in?
Yes, it is, with my handwriting on it.
Sure. Defense Counsel, State's Exhibit 199. Show you State's Exhibit 199 and ask if you can identify that document.
This would be an evidence log that is also filled out by myself on that date.
And what is the purpose of that evidence log?
In case someone else were to take that evidence out of evidence, it basically tracks who has access to that evidence.
Okay, and you filled that form out?
Initially, yes, I did.
Okay, and what did you do, what does it document you did with the key?
It documents that I took it from the scene into my possession, and then my possession into an evidence locker at Ashland Police Department.
And with reference to the key marked as, let's see, State's Exhibit 198, does it appear to be in substantially similar condition today as when you collected it on September 24th, 2016?
The key of the packaging.
No, I guess the key is.
Yes, the key is still in the same condition.
Yeah, packaging seemed better damaged.
Correct.
Okay. And then State's Exhibit 199, is that a fair and accurate copy of the document, evidence log, as you filled it out on September 24th?
Yes, it is.
And is that evidence log, is that a form that you typically use in the course of your activities on behalf of the Ashland Police Department?
Yes, it is.
Now, after collecting the key from the scene out there along the fence line, that same day, did you have more involvement in the case?
Yes, roughly 2 hours later, I was asked again by Detective Major to respond to Stony Creek Apartments
Okay, for what purpose?
to collect the lock off of Elizabeth Griffith's door.
Okay, and did you do so?
I did. I met with Raymond Fuller in the parking lot of 242 Matthews Avenue.
And who is Raymond Fuller?
He was an employee for Stony Creek.
Okay, and was he able to provide you with anything?
He provided me with a box that contained the locking mechanism off of that door.
And did you go with him to collect this lock?
No, I did not.
Okay. So he just produced it to you?
That is correct.
Did you just meet him in the parking lot and handed it to him?
That is correct.
Okay. I'm going to show you State's Exhibit 200. Ask if you can identify that exhibit.
This would be the locking mechanism that Mr. Fuller handed me on that date.
And how do you know that is the locking mechanism that Mr. Fuller handed you?
Because it came out of the evidence bag that's filled out and addressed by myself.
What's that? Show you State's Exhibit 201. What is State's Exhibit 201?
Exhibit 201 is another evidence log, again filled out and addressed by myself.
Okay, and what does that evidence log document?
It documents me collecting the quick set lock from 242 Matthews Apartment L. Again, it's relinquished by Raymond Fuller to myself, and then I turned it from myself over to an evidence locker at Ashland Police Department.
And is Exhibit 200 appear to be in substantially similar condition to as it appeared on September 24th when you received it from Mr. Fuller?
Yes, it does.
And is State's Exhibit 201 appear an accurate copy of the Ashland Police Department evidence log documenting the movement of Exhibit 200 as you filled it out on September 24th, 2016?
Yes, it does.
And again, this is a form that you used in the course of conducting the Ashland Police Department's routine business.
That's correct.
Thank you, officer. Nothing further.
Cross-examine, Mr. White.
No questions, Officer Newman, Judge. Thank you.
Thank you. Officer Newman, you're excused.
call Raymond Fuller now.
Okay.
Raise your right hand. Sir, do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony about to give in this matter to be the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God? Yes. Have a seat. Speak to the mic, okay?
May proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Could you tell us your name, please?
My name's Raymond Fuller.
And how are you employed, Mr. Fuller?
I am the maintenance supervisor at Stony Creek Apartments here in Ashland, Ohio.
And how long have you been the maintenance supervisor?
It's going on 2.5 years
And did you work at Stony Creek prior to that in another capacity?
as a maintenance technician,
Okay.
a subcontractor.
All right. What is Stony Creek?
Stony Creek is a housing development. We have 156 units here locally in Ashland, Ohio.
And you're the maintenance supervisor for that entire complex?
Yes,
Okay. And I take it you were the maintenance supervisor in September of 2016?
yes.
Was there in September, or prior to September of 2016, was there an individual that had an apartment at Stony Creek by the name of Elizabeth Griffith?
Yes, there was.
What apartment did she have?
It was 242 Matthews Avenue, apartment L.
Okay. And at some point, were you asked by the Ashland Police Department to relinquish the lock?
Yes.
Where was the lock?
The lock was removed from the door and set on the floor inside the unit so no one could enter the unit until after the investigation.
Okay, and who removed the lock from the door?
I did.
And I take it you replaced it with a different lock?
Yes,
And who had the key to that lock?
I did.
And you placed the old lock inside the unit?
Yes, until the officer called me and I relinquished it to them.
And did you remove the lock and place it inside the unit on your own or at the request of someone?
At the request of the officer.
Okay. And you personally did all of that?
Yes, I walked it down the steps and stood there in the parking lot.
Okay, and then you handed it to?
The officer that showed up and he took my information.
I'm going to show you what we marked as State's Exhibit 200. Do you recognize what that is?
Yes, I do. It's the lock set that was removed from her door. This is a master lock key set. Actually, if you don't mind my master key here should fit
Do
it.
you have the master key?
Yes, sir.
And for the record, Your Honor, the witness demonstrated using his master key and his key chain to turn the lock that is marked as State's Exhibit 200.
Record will so reflect the demonstration.
Thank you, Your Honor. And does State's Exhibit 200, this lock, does it look just like it did the day you handed it over to the Ashland Police Department?
It's in the original box that the new lock set that went on the door came in.
Did you know Elizabeth Griffith?
On a professional level, I did several maintenance calls, defrosted her refrigerator, had some cheerful conversations.
What was your impression of Elizabeth Griffith?
She was a gentle soul. She would always make us little thank you cards and memorabilia and bring it to the office, little flowers and a vase she found out in the yard or something. And she was,
And she'd just do that on her own.
yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Fuller.
Cross-examine?
No, Judge, thank you. No.
Thank you. You're excused, sir. It's now 2:51 PM. I think we'll take an afternoon recess at this time for like 10, 15 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, don't talk about the case with anyone. Don't let anybody discuss it with you. Please comply with the court's general order of admonitions as before. We'll be in recess roughly 10, 15 minutes.